Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Monday live stream. And today, just like the title and the thumbnail suggests, we're going to take a look at the case for parabolic Bitcoin and the crypto market in general. And I know that when we talk about these things, it seems a little bit far-fetched, but just keep an open mind and we'll kind of go from there. First of all, I have to say there's something going on in the background. I think the S&P 500 is down by 0.26%. Checking the comment section. Also on top of that, Bitcoin today actually did breach 100K yet again, which it just keeps going and just chopping up and down and sideways. I have to say, this is probably a great time for traders as, I mean, there is a good amount of volatility. If you look at the 7-day, not so big of a deal, right? And that's how we should look at it. We should look at a 7-day, a 1 month, a 3 month, a 1 year. That's how we should look at things in general. Unfortunately, the lizard brain that we have, we're always fearful. There's always something around the corner. And we take a look at the 24-hour time frame. We're like, whoa, what the heck is that? And that, my friends, is the volatility of the market. Now, as you have been here quite some time, I've been here quite some time, this is boring. This is 2.2%. If we get that in traditional equities, that is a recipe for disaster and just nonsense and just the worst thing of all time. And for this, we call this a Monday morning. So we'll see if it keeps going down. There's a lot of levered plays going on right now. There's a lot of shorts being liquidated, longs being liquidated to kind of get everything out. And just, you have to expect this. And that's pretty much how it is. Now, there's a ton of narratives that are out there that could, of course, take into place as far as like why this is actually happening. But, you know, I will tell you that as you've been around here for years, not a big deal. So because of the 100K, I had to repost this. I know there's been some people in the comment section going, hey, weren't you supposed to jump into your pool or your green screen at the 100K? So I just wanted to say that we actually did this on Thursday and we showed this on NFA Live. So yes, there I am jumping into the pool. And that is just, I'm not going to do this for every 100K. This is like, was supposed to be a once in a generation event, but that's what we have. So I'm happy to do it, and we did it, and let's move on. So talking about this in general, as far as the case for a parabolic Bitcoin. So when we go through these different instances we're going to talk about corporations, we're going to talk about nation states, we're going to talk about potentially 4 new countries getting into this Bitcoin reserve. You have to have a level head. This is Rob Art. I followed him for quite a long time, a couple of years now. Interesting guy, pretty level-headed, just like me. I mean, as much as possible. And he blazed it out very eloquently here. He's like, look, we are now 1,125 days into this market cycle. What he's doing is he's taking a look at all the way back in November 2021 to today, not from the halving or the lows that I take a look at. And he says, this is the parabolic macro phase. Whoever is telling you about super cycles and that a 3 to 4 year bull market is only starting will lose you a lot of money. In the coming months, when the market peaks and crashes 79%, once the pumps will be completed, get out. People have been arguing with me since 2017, saying this time is different, it won't crash, and it's been proven wrong every time. So that's just one side of the story I wanted to present with before we get into this super bullishness news. I cannot sit here and give you nothing but good news and not give you a counterbalance. Because if I don't give you a counterbalance, people go off their rocker and they start saying, you know what? I don't need this house. Let me do a second mortgage. You know what? I don't need this kidney. I don't need these kids. I'll just sell everything. Relax. You've got plenty of time. And like we've talked about last week, you've got a solid 4 months before we really start going parabolic. But this is what we have today. Harry Potter. You gotta love X. This was a post from David Bailey. And you don't know David Bailey? He actually lives here in Puerto Rico. And he's responsible for Bitcoin Magazine and the Bitcoin Conference. And he always gives like little clues as to what is going on behind the scenes. He's actually, for the Bitcoin Conference in Nashville, he did a couple of pictures of Trump and talked about how there were billionaires who he knows who they are, but he had no idea that they were coming into Bitcoin or were part of Bitcoin before they told him that we're going to get into this. Now, you could say, well, he's quite biased, Rob, and you're absolutely 100% correct. But a lot of the things he's talked about on his X account has actually come true. So here we're looking at just some random person, and I just caught my attention. He says, you're not bullish enough. And I'm like, who the heck is this guy? And Harry Pothead says, This is perhaps Sheikh Nayyan bin Mubarak Al Nahyan. I think I nailed that one. Emirati royal and politician who currently serves as Minister of Tolerance of the UAB. Previously served as the Minister of Culture, Minister of Higher Education. So he's right here at one of the Binance events, probably talking about Bitcoin, crypto, and digital assets. And it wasn't just this post. This is just like a one-off type of thing. But then he said something about this. At least 4 new countries have greenlit a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now, this is 4 new countries. If we take a look at the countries right now that are actually holding Bitcoin and are talking about or potentially will get a Bitcoin reserve, we can say the United States currently holds 213,246 Bitcoin. Now, that is under the assumption that the Biden-Harris administration has not moved that Bitcoin to sell it off before Trump takes office. All bets are off. I have no idea what's going on. There was a movement last week, and they could potentially be selling it before it gets in, which I think would be a huge mistake, but whatever they want to do. China has 190,000. UK has 61,000. El Salvador, which we're going to talk about in a bit, has 5,800 Bitcoin. Ukraine, for some reason, is 1,300 Bitcoin. And Germany used to have a lot. I want to say 50,000, 50 or 55,000. And they just sold in May, June, and July at roughly a price of around 55K or somewhere around there. So I mean, hats off to them. It was just free money because they seized that Bitcoin. It's not like they were buying it like we do. It's not like they were dollar cost averaging. But what David's here is talking about is that there's 4 new countries for a Bitcoin reserve. And again, like we talked about, this is just game theory. When the United States comes out, and I believe they will, and they'll say either one of a couple of things. Either they're going to keep that 213,000 Bitcoin, and that's it, and they'll never sell it. That's their reserve. Or they're going to add to it, like the Cynthia Lummis bill from Wyoming, and say, we're going to buy up to 1 million Bitcoin and keep that in a reserve to balance the budget, however Trump wants to do that. If that happens, then just watch all the other countries follow suit. It's just how it goes. He states Bitcoin superpower is a very powerful meme, and there's just not enough Bitcoin for everyone to, I think he's meant to have one. But it's true. And it really comes down to supply, demand. And if you have a supply crunch or you are finite, if there is a reduced amount or you only have a limited amount. And that's the big difference between, say, gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And I think this is going to make a lot of sense to a lot of the gold bugs. Like me personally, I own gold and silver. My brother owns a bunch of gold. And I believe in it. I think it does pretty well. I mean, as far as like, as another piece of your portfolio. But as far as like limited supply and finite, you can find gold everywhere. Check this out. I'm not going to play this video because it's in Spanish, but I'm just going to read what he says. This is Nayib Bukele, and he's sitting up here and he says, look, let me just play this and I'll go through it. A few days ago, we announced that we would submit a proposal to the Legislative Assembly to repeal the mining prohibition. Why? In El Salvador. Why? Well, El Salvador potentially has $3 trillion. Make no mistake, it's not billions, it's trillions. $3 million going in gold alone, which we just found. We found gallium, tantalum, tin, and many other materials needed for the fourth and fifth industrial revolution. The gold is only the potential gold is only one part of it, and it isn't even the most valuable. And if we don't do it responsibly and make responsible use, as many countries already do, of the natural resources, such as Norway, for example, then we're not doing our job. Essentially what he's saying is like this. Look, we just found a huge stash of gold, roughly $3 trillion. And that's on top of the other precious metals that we found. And with that, what does that do? That changes the whole dynamics of if you take a look at gold and you take a look at Bitcoin. With Bitcoin, there's only going to be over 21 million. And as a reminder, 4 to 6 million is already gone. That was mined in 2009, 10, 11, and even recently. There has been people who have lost their seed phrases, lost their mnemonic phrase. That'll never get found again. That Bitcoin is gone. So the 21 million that we think we have is actually more like 16 around 16 million that's actually available. So with gold, it's a lot different. We can find these amazing stashes of gold just laying around underneath our feet in different countries. And that messes up with the supply demand, because if you can keep putting in more supply, what happens to demand? Well, people could use it, could find different uses for it, Rob. Yes, absolutely. But the thing is when you're getting into gold, you want to find, or just assets, you want to find ones that are truly not infinite and truly not just scarce, but finite. And that's why I kind of see where Michael Saylor's going with this, and why I think that this could be a big thing, because as this gets adopted, you can't make more Bitcoin. It's just impossible. You just can't do that. But you can find more gold. Heck, there was just a story a year ago where there was an asteroid that was nearing Earth that they could mine a boatload of gold out of it, or if it crashed into Earth, they could mine it the same way. So I look at these things, I'm just like, man, I think we're in the right place at the right time, doing the right things. And again, if we just take a look at just gold versus Bitcoin supply, you can see that this number of gold, as far as supply in tons, just keeps going up. And when we mine the last Bitcoin, which is supposed to be, I think, in 2140, correct me in the comments, that's it. And we've already mined almost 19.6 million of it out of the potential 21 million. So if you got some Bitcoin, and I don't care how much you got right now, you front ran everybody. Congratulations, because you're doing really well. But to not give you too much good stuff, I want to read you a real quick FUD story. So El Salvador, when they decided to invest into Bitcoin heavily, they actually had a call from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. What they said is, look, we'll give you a huge loan, but you cannot use Bitcoin. You cannot use that as the standard, and you cannot use that as legal tender. But we'll give you a loan. The interest, we'll talk about that. And they said, no, absolutely not. And they went on for Bitcoin. They did pretty good. They reduced the inflation rate. They massively reduced criminal activity, but that was a whole separate story. But now it looks like they're going back and are going to take a loan from the IMF. Not a lot of people are going to cover this, but this is true. But you have to ask yourself, why? Well, I think I have a reason. This is from Financial Times. El Salvador to scale back Bitcoin dreams to seal 1.3 billion IMF deal. I got to tell you, that's a pretty good title, to scale back Bitcoin dreams. So what are those Bitcoin dreams? I could read you the whole article, but it's really boring. Here's the crux of it. Under the terms of the agreement being finalized with the Washington-based fund, that's right, IMF, International Monetary Fund, yeah, it's in Washington, D.C. El Salvador would drop a legal requirement for businesses to accept Bitcoin as payment, but they'll just make it voluntary. So right now, they are forcing or saying like, look, this is legal tender, you have to take Bitcoin, which is great. But as I understand it, it's been a very low percentage. A lot of people haven't taken it as much, because I personally know, and you know, that Bitcoin can be a medium of exchange, obviously, right? Especially in the Lightning Network. But people don't want to use it like that. They want to have it as a hedge against inflation. They see it as a store of value. I personally see it as a commodity, just like I see real estate, just like I see gold, just like I see silver. So I don't think people really want to do that. They want to hold on to it. So people aren't really selling as much. And that's just how it goes. They said, okay, fine. We'll take your loan, IMF, and we'll play the game, and we'll just make it voluntarily. So if they want to take it, sure, which I think is a good move. That's what we have in the United States. We don't make everybody take it, but hey, my friend Steven over at the San Juan Smokehouse, he takes Bitcoin, no problem. The government would also commit to reducing the budget deficit by 3.5 percentage points of GDP over 3 years, with a mix of spending cuts and tax raises, passing an anti-corruption law, which I think they already did. Or maybe I'm thinking of Javier Milei from Argentina, and increasing reserves from 11 billion to 15 billion, one of the people close to the talk said. So if they're talking about to scale back the Bitcoin dreams, I mean, it's true. It's a little outlandish. All they're saying is like, look, we're not going to make you take Bitcoin. It's going to be voluntary, and we're going to take this big, huge loan. I wonder what the question that I have is, what do you think they're going to do with that loan? Now, the obvious answer, because we're all talking about Bitcoin, is, well, just buy more Bitcoin. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they could use it, but if I was them, and it's a good thing I'm not, and I had this ability to mine a boatload of gold, maybe I would just take that gold, that $3 trillion worth, and just put that into Bitcoin. Wouldn't that be funny? Essentially, you would be disrupting the value and the price action of gold, because you would dump so much into the market and you would just buy Bitcoin. Ah, the sweet swan song. Anyhow, let me know what you think about that in the comments section. And then also, if we're going to talk about countries, let's talk about huge corporations, Microsoft. So Michael Saylor did a nice little presentation, about 3 minutes or so, and gave that to the board for Microsoft to vote on if they're going to put that on the balance sheet. And apparently this is going to happen in 2 days. I had no idea it was this fast. So today is Monday. What is this? 9th of December. So by the 11th, we're going to find out if Microsoft is going to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. On top of that, this is from a friend of the show, John Deaton, who did a great job running against Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts. I wish he would have won. Not a big fan of Pocahontas, but here we are. John states, this is why Saylor insisted on obtaining a lead that almost no company can catch, which if you didn't know, I think this is it. MicroStrategy owns 2% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist. I don't know what you think about this as far as decentralization, the comment section, or this is a good thing, but this just came in today. Just with Microsoft talking about putting it on the balance sheet. And then, of course, with MicroStrategy, see if I can. MicroStrategy, who has put Bitcoin on their balance sheet in a massive way, which there's rumors or there's rumblings that MicroStrategy will be added into the S&P 500 because of their meteoric rise in value of the company stock. Their corporate treasuries is among the top 15. They're right behind ExxonMobil. They have 26 billion as far as their treasury. Most of that is Bitcoin, and that will only go up. So here's an example. They have Bitcoin right now. It's worth 26 billion. We're at 100K. Do you think we could go to 200K? Well, there you go. You're at 52 billion. And if you're at 52 billion, you're in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're in the top 5, essentially. Why wouldn't you put Bitcoin on the balance sheet? There's new rules and regulations coming in as far as January 1st, 2025. I always forget the rules. I got to get Jerry Holland to remind me what this is. But you're going to see that MicroStrategy is right behind Exxon, Intel, GM, Tesla, NVIDIA, Ford, Alphabet, and Amazon.com. Because they have a treasury of what? Bitcoin, which has done nothing but appreciate. So it's worked out pretty well. Now Amazon's getting into it. Amazon shareholders request that the board conduct an assessment to determine if adding Bitcoin to the company's treasury is in the best long-term interests of shareholders. To me, it befuddles me as to why they wouldn't do this. If you are looking for assets to put onto your balance sheet that, yes, could be very volatile over a 4-year time frame, but has outperformed every single asset in the history of assets, well, not the history of assets, we'll say in the last 50 years. Why wouldn't you just put, I don't know, 1 to 3% of it into Bitcoin? I mean, 1 to 3%. It'll probably outperform everything you have. So Resolve, what it's saying here is shareholder requests that the board conduct an assessment to determine if adding Bitcoin to the company's treasury is in the best long-term interests of shareholders. If that domino falls, expect Amazon to also fall. And when that happens and we get a Bitcoin strategic reserve, could we not then see more of a FOMO or a lot of people getting into it? And here's the next question. If we take a look at the OTC and all the different Bitcoin that is on the exchanges, how much do you really think they have? Are you going to start selling? I know I'm not. I'm going to be selling my alts, that is for darn sure, during this bull market. But like I said, if we get a strategic reserve and these things happen, all bets are off. Anyhow, let me know what you think about that in the comment section. I think this is positive news a little bit. And then lastly, before we get in the Q&A, it's not just the big companies. There's also small ones. This is from Matthew Slegel, Chief Financial Officer over at Van Eck, Chief Financial Analyst. And he says, Jet King Infotrain, a 77-year-old Indian company with a 5 million market cap and 2 million annual sales, has become the first public company in India to adopt the Bitcoin treasury strategy. Look, it's not just big companies. Small companies can get on the action too. I gotta tell you. Not a bad deal. Let's see how well they do in the next 4 years. We'll check in on them. And then, that's nothing. And that's it, actually. No, sorry. This was another article about Bitcoin dreams, which we already covered. So, all right, everybody. So that's it for today. I know that was a little bit, gosh, you know, we keep getting just a little too much bullishness. Maybe tomorrow I'll just do like an bullish, like super bearish FUD video so everybody can come back to reality. But man, it's looking pretty good. That's all I can tell you. That's it for today. So look, like today's video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing. Everything we talk about is time sensitive. Now, if you want to get into a little Q&A, we'll answer all your questions to the best of my abilities. Then we'll go from there. Everybody, thanks so much. Let's get into Q&A. Holy smokes, Vision Thomas is dumping to 92K. That's pretty fast. Ah, man. That's just an assessment. I was like, well, great. Vision of Tomo just gave me my next FUD video, which would be dumping to 92K. When you balance, very funny, Tomo. See you tomorrow down to low 90s. Well, here's my question for everybody, because Tomo's got a good point. Let's say it does go to the low 90s. Like, would this be one of your things like, well, I went to the 90s, went to the 90s, and maybe it's going to go to the 70s, and I went to the 70s, and maybe Kappa was right, and we go below 20K. Would anybody stop? Would anybody buy at this point? Would you be like, this is awful. Everything's going to zero. Dan Pena was right. I don't know. I think some of us might actually want to buy a little more. Hey, you know what's good news though? If Bitcoin's down, how much are the alts down? That's the question. Now we're talking. Oh, this is very nice. Solana down 6%. I like what I see. Dogecoin down 6%. Okay, who's the biggest losers? Shiba Inu down 7%. Okay. Polkadot, no surprise there. Hedera down 8.9%. You know, as I'm talking about these, would be remiss if I don't remind everybody about the 30-day, because we've had quite a run up on all these different old-timey coins. Like XRP is down 6.5%, but over 30 days it did go up 335%. I'll be okay with that. Although I don't own any XRP, I'm just happy for all the XRP holders. Dogecoin up 111%, but it's down 6% per day. I'd like to see it go down more. Polygon down 10%, up 60%. The VeChain was up 179%. Holy smokes, that's an old one. Yeah. Anyhow, good to know. When XRP hits 25 bucks, another pool plunge? Sure, why not? Remind me when it hits 25. It might. Jake today says, thank you, 60 minutes, buying the dip. There was a good, Tony over at Thinking Crypto did a great assessment of what happened with that 60-minute interview with Brad Garlinghouse. And it was between that, and then there was a former SEC commissioner, John Reed Stark. And I actually follow him on X. He's actually quite entertaining because he is so fuddy and so negative on everything that has to do with Bitcoin. However, when Gary stepped down, he was actually pretty complimentary, or actually pretty positive about that move. Anyhow, he was interviewed by 60 Minutes, and he pretty much just said how Bitcoin and crypto is a total scam, and that it's just awful, and everybody should be running away from it. And then he also talked about, actually what Tony talked about was that there was no mention of the recent legal case judgments, which stated that XRP was deemed not a security. For some reason, making the 60 Minutes assessment. But John Reed Starks did talk about how there's been a lot of different cases and they're not going well and blah, blah, blah. Thanks, Tom. It's good. But that cup disappears. Yeah. Vision of Tomo. Turn off the computer for 6 months and come back, or 3 months, come back higher. You know, there is one thing. See, Echo's got a good point. Scream and panic. It's a pretty good strategy. Let it all out. But, if you look at it, and we talked about this last week or so, where, let me just show you. Is this it? No. Yeah. So the price of Bitcoin has never gone below the presidential election price. This is an old one actually, but in November 6, 2012, Bitcoin price was between $10 and $11. And after it hit that on November 6, 2012, it never went below. November 8, 2016, it was 773, never went below that. November 30, 2020, it was 14,000 or 15,000, somewhere around there. Never went below that. And November 5th, 2024, we actually hit 69, somewhere between 69 and 70K, depending on which exchange you looked at. And if history is any repetition, it'll not go below that. So if you think like, it'll go to 60 or 50, historically speaking, it shouldn't go below 70. But I mean, we are at almost 94K or 98K. So something to think about. I don't know. What? Shout out to Randy Hipper. YouTube took down her live for truthing. Let's hold on. Randy. Let's send her a text. Hey, did you get taken down on your live stream? Get taken down. See what she says. What's your thoughts on DYDX coin? It's David Sachs coin, Trump's crypto czar, and head of AI development for the White House. So let's be honest. If the crypto czar is coming in and he's got his own coin, DYDX, probably not a bad idea to take a real hard look at that. Let me put that on my schedule of things to do today. That one, and also believe he's got a big position in Solana, just like Chamath Palihapitiya and the rest of those guys. So I know people would say, it's just a VC coin. Yes, that's the whole point. So the question is, did they already dump? My question is this: did they already dump before it went to $9, or did they diamond hands everything all the way down? Something to think about. I would hope that, I mean, not all VCs are very smart. And they're just a bunch of degenerate gamblers like the rest of us. Dennis says, what's your take on the coins like Super? Looks like a good project, not too familiar with it. Narrative and issue there, still on the fence about MC, market cap to fully diluted value ratio. Am I going to get taken down? Okay. We had a little lag there. My thoughts are is whatever you're into as far as altcoins, and you've done your research and you've really looked into it and you believe in it, it's been shown that if you have conviction and you've done a lot of DYOR into everything, you're probably on the right path. Here's a prime example. How long have we heard about XRP and how great it is? Regardless of what you think about it. A lot of those guys, especially some guys here in Puerto Rico, they are super believers into XRP. And it really paid off. It paid off quite well because they were able to just say, well, I know where it is. And the one that's screwing things up is Gary Gensler and the SEC. If I just keep dollar cost averaging, it'll eventually turn around. And they were right. And I showed you Saturday's video where if you would have been dollar cost averaging just $100 a week, which I get, it's a lot for some people, for other people it's nothing. If you did $100 a week, as it kept going down and down and down, and then just chopped sideways for the last 2 years or so, if you would have done that, you would have almost performed as well as buying Bitcoin at $100 a week. Let that sink in. Think about that. So like if you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I want to sell this token, this altcoin that I've done a ton of research on, I know it's really well because there's this new coin that I think can do pretty well, and I'm going to sell this to get into that. You can do it, but for me, I've done enough research on the ones that I actually own right now. I'm just going to stay with it. And sometimes it's just easier just to do nothing. Here's what Randy says. Hey, so I was playing the 60 Minutes interview with Garlinghouse, and they took it down for 2 or 3 minutes for violating the policy. Then they put the stream back up out of nowhere. Definitely a YouTuber insider pressing buttons. So much for free speech. I expect to be demonetized, but that was insane. Just a black screen. Viewers were cut in half. Wow, that sucks. That sucks. I'd have you on, but I'm worried to. I'm doing a live stream and people were asking. See, there you go. There's your information. So Randy, I guess, played some, isn't that supposed to be fair use policy? It makes no sense. Fair use policy to use 60 minutes, and they took her video down. That's crappy. Now things happen. That's why, like, if you watch like Joe Rogan, he'll ask for a video clip, and I'll say, well, he goes, well, we don't get demonetized, so don't play any audio. Chris Perkins, all in on Nintendo 64 games. Exactly. There we go. We're great on SWAT, Robert. Thanks. Great show. The Bobby Pump Mog. Bobby didn't invest into that, but he probably will. Although Bobby is looking into this little play right here. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Poly Market, but Bobby's looking for a position. Unfortunately, that's my friend Bobby. He lives in Australia. He's the exact opposite of me. And Robbie, me, cannot gamble or, I guess, monetarily invest in potential outcomes on Poly Market, even though I would really like to. But Bobby can. And sometimes the question becomes like, do I invest into Ethereum or do I just invest into a very simple yes or no answer? Check this out. You go to Poly Market, and let's say I put in like 1,000. I'll say $100. And I say, yes, Ethereum will hit an all-time high in 2024. If I did, and I got like 3 weeks left, so it might. What is the all-time high, actually? Let's see. If I asked Bobby, he probably would know. Well, it says right down here, I think. Yeah. 4,500, 4,641. And right now it's 38.20. So the bet is if you put $100 down and it goes over, $4,700, $4,800, you could get $384. Not too bad, huh? Hey, Rob, thanks to iTrust Capital Roth. They've been great. Question, do you also use a self-directed IRA? I don't. I just use everything with iTrust. And I got to tell you, I know people will say, let me see if I can pull it up. So iTrust is my Roth IRA for retirement because I've got two different accounts. I've got my regular portfolio and then my retirement account because, hey, you never know, right? Things could happen. So with this one, I know people will always say, but, Rob, it's not your keys, not your crypto. But as a reminder, these guys, they use the same custody services, MicroStrategy and BlackRock, which is Coinbase Prime. So, all right. This is good. Drone says, what's Hawk2a scam coin at? I don't know. Maybe it rallied. Rate cuts on December 18th. Crypto enters parabolic stage. I believe the unemployment rate slightly ticked up. So, usually, well, when that happens, that's the whole thing. If the economy is not doing so great, then the Fed is free to follow with their path, which is let us help the economy out by cutting rates. Then people can get better loans, and they can build in their businesses, and they can hire more people. So with this one, I bet you if you look at the FOMC right now, let's see. I bet they're going to cut rates on the 18th. Yeah, almost 90%. The current target rate is 450 basis points, 475. They're going to go to 425. And you know what? Here's my question for everybody. Who the heck knew about Fed cutting rates before they got into Bitcoin and crypto? Did they teach that at your school? I'm going to guess no. It really is a green screen. What the heck? Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I was able to put myself into this green screen. Watch this. I was able to put myself into the green screen and jump into it. There's this place called Fiverr. You go to Fiverr, they're able to like auto generate you into the screen itself. It's pretty great. And then I said I wanted to be able to come out of the pool and look like I was wet and start talking. They said, sure, just, stand in front of the green screen, will make you wet. I said, I also want to be in shape. They said, okay, we'll make you in shape. I said, also give me abs. They gave me abs. It's a pretty good deal. So, yeah, that's what I do. All righty. Oh, if anybody like has a problem with, like, you guys know that I'm going to be stepping down from this channel pretty soon, right? As soon as I start selling. I have another channel where I just talk about like how to stay in shape. It's very simple. Eat a certain way, mostly meat, work out once a day, and do push-ups. That's it. So if you want to learn that very simple strategy, there's a link in the description now I put in there because I keep getting a bunch of questions about that after the pool jump. So just it's the very bottom. Follow me on Max Mondays. That's it. From where Speedo, Sweet Mary Joseph, no. Andrew, 2 steps forward, 1 point it says back is absolutely right. Holy Macaroni. Holy Macaroni, why is messaging me? I don't know what's going on, man. If it's a very negative or it's got cuss words or if you got links, then that's what'll happen. I don't do that. It just automatically does it. Like I don't do the clipping. Robbie, see my message on X. Holy Macaroni, what's your website? Just don't put .com and I'll share it right now. I lift a lot of weight every time I stand up. Rob, what price does Bitcoin need to hit for you to get Ben and Guy to jump in the pool with you? It's a lot of money because they're pretty happy. Ben's only got 4 kids to take care of and Guy's all the way in Abu Dhabi. So $500,000, I think. Slow noob, everything's good. I live in paradise. I live in Puerto Rico. I get to go to the gym, which is just the beach, and do calisthenic stuff. And I don't understand why. And I was talking to my wife about this. Like I know people they like to go to the gym and they work out. But then I know a lot of people that you're going to come into New Year's, the New Year's resolutions. And like if you ever worked at the gym, you know that January is the worst time to go because that's when all the people who signed up, they're there for like a month, maybe 2, and it's always packed. And they never come back. And they keep paying for the same gym membership. I just don't understand. First of all, everything starts in the kitchen, and then just eat a certain way. Very simple. If you go to the supermarket, just eat on the outside sections, which is all fruits, vegetables, meats, and dairy. And don't go in where the processed foods are, which is usually like the freezers and the counters. Second thing is try to do a workout every day, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes at most. Use those resistance bands. That's all I use. And that's it. And try to stay stress-free as much as possible. Doesn't matter how well you do and how much you do. If you're stressed out, it's very hard to lose any weight. Where'd it go? Macaroni, did you get that website to me? I'll be blinded if Ben jumps in the pool. Yes, JC. Rob, are you allowed to migrate your content to another platform like X or Rumble? Hold on. Rumble. Sign up. Should have done this a long time ago. Sorry. Oh, Macaroni, just let's see. If there's messages on X, I don't usually get those directly. So post it here, like if your website is like tomatocoinfinance.com, just put tomato space coin space finance space dot space com. How hot are the girls in Puerto Rico? I don't know. I got a hot wife though, so that's all I really care about. I quit going to the gym years ago, work out at home. Exactly. You can save so much money and time just working out at home. Gyms are overrated. They're expensive too. Chris says there's a woman in Puerto Rico just degens. There's a lot of degens, I'll tell you that. Yeah, Echo. My tread needs a new motor. I've been dealing the little neighborhood. I don't trust myself to walk backwards on uneven pavement. Great stuff for your knees, walking backwards. Also for cognitive development, which I was not aware of until today. Safe answer, always. You say answers like that, right? It's very safe. Now then, if your significant other asks you about your portfolio and it's down, you don't say anything. You just say, yeah, it's just going sideways. I can't give financial advice. I'll give you marriage advice. Don't tell them about your portfolio if it's down. Only tell them when it's up. Max Monday flagged as adult content. Well, probably so. It is adult, not adult. Nice. Buying you beer. I like beer. I do. It's like, yeah, it's easy. Marriage is easy. They say grass is green on the other side. It just depends on which side that you're watering. And that's it. Brian's got a good question. Rob, did your old-fashioned bank ever give you trouble when they see a big payout from crypto platform? So I've had USAA since I went into the Army. This was in the 90s. So I've never had a problem with them as far as anything. And these are like from small amounts all the way up to big amounts. So when we paid off the house here in Guaynabo. So I never had a problem there. I did have a problem with one of my banks here in Puerto Rico called Oriental. And they do not allow anything from any kind of centralized exchanges for crypto to pass through their system. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll just use you guys for the business aspect and I'll use USAA for all the investment aspects. Never had a problem. But if you do, it's best just to switch and let them not have your business. Yeah. And that's a good one. That's the way to leave it right there. Lastly, before we get out of here, I will say this. The bull run's coming up. I mean, not the bull run he's had is nice. It's adorable. But you guys aren't really ready for the one that's coming, I don't think. It's going to be much bigger, I believe. I could be wrong. But during this time, you need to get everything in order. So the first thing I would like you guys to do is talk to your centralized exchanges and ask them about sell limits and ask them how much you can transfer limits. Because if you sign up for a new exchange, sometimes they only allow you to sell like up to 5,000, 10,000, something like that. And if you ask them and say, hey, I'd like to sell more, then they'll give you as much as you want, depending on how long you've been there and your history and all that stuff. If you have an issue with transferring to your bank and you're like, I need to lock these in before things collapse, just remember you can always sell your, tomato coin, and you can put it into USDT, which is a stable coin, or USDC, which is another stable coin. And that way you don't deal with the fluctuations until your bank allows you to use your own money, which kind of sucks. So just make sure you have this all set up now before things get crazy, which it will. And that's it for today. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by. Appreciate it. If you would be so kind on your way out, hit the like and subscribe. Subscribe is good, but it's not like YouTube will notify you. They never do, or it's rare, but you can give it a roll. Thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Adios.